So I'm joined by Dr. Matthew Goodwin. We're going to have a little look at the history of Ukip, who seem to be a party on the march, but they claim that they've grown their support over many years. Well, what would you say? Are they a party that has come out of nowhere, really, or have they been bubbling away for a while?
Well, I don't think they've come out of nowhere. This has been a long journey through the political wilderness, if you like, for Nigel Farage. He's been at this game for more than 20 years, but it's really only since 2010 that we've really seen Ukip begin to get the levels of support that are pretty impressive for a small party. So it all started in 1993 in the office of Alan Sked at the London School of Economics.
Here he is, Alan Sked. He founded Ukip along with members of the Anti-Federalist League who opposed the European Union. In the 1997 general election that I can just show you here as well, they put forward 193 candidates, failed to win any seats, securing just over 100,000 votes, or 0.3% of the total votes. So not a great showing there, was it?
No, and of course what's significant here, these early general elections, Ukip just didn't target seats. Now, that's what they're going to do next year. They just didn't know how to play the game of general elections.
It was at the 1999 European elections when they had their first success. 3 MEPs elected. We had Michael Holmes here, the then leader, millionaire businessman, Geoffrey Titford, and one person here who you may recognise, Nigel Farage. And it was in 2006 then that Nigel Farage was elected as leader. Big milestone, do you think, for Ukip then?
I think it was in some ways. I mean, this was Nigel Farage's first period as leader of the party. It didn't go too well. They did well, obviously, at the 2009 European Parliament elections, but I think at that point, you know, internally the party was not strong. And of course, then Nigel Farage left and was replaced by Lord Malcolm Pearson, who wanted to take Ukip in a somewhat different direction.
Yeah, I mean, we can see in 2008 this was quite significant for Ukip because they actually got their first MP, Bob Spink. He defected from the Conservatives, although we should point out that his time with the party was pretty short-lived. Within a year, he was labelling himself as an independent. And then, as you were just saying earlier, it was in 2010 at the general election when we had 558 candidates there, no MPs. Again, Nigel Farage resigned his leadership of the party to contest the seat of Buckingham then. Against the Speaker, John Bercow. March 2011, this is quite an interesting time then, because this is where Ukip came second in the Barnsley Central by-election with 12.2% of the vote. How significant was that? First signs of a breakthrough, really?
This is where you begin to see Nigel Farage's by-election strategy kicking in. He basically said to the party, you know, you can't just rely on European Parliament elections. You've got to take by-elections seriously. And look at where it is. Barnsley, rock-solid Labour territory in northern England. Ukip just didn't used to go into the north in the 90s. So this was quite a significant moment for the party. And, of course, then onwards, we begin to see this very sharp rise in support for Ukip in the opinion polls.
Yeah, we did have a few by-election successes after that as well, with few more second places. Eastleigh, of course, in February 2013, with a record share of the vote for Ukip, 27.8%. Diane James came in second place. Some people said if Nigel Farage had stood there, he might have won that one. What do you think?
Well, Ukip is very anxious to stand local candidates, people who have some links to the area. Now, Diane James was quite a new recruit at that point, and what's significant here as well is this was the first by-election, I think, where Ukip really began to campaign very intensively. They were really turning their activists out on election day. They were trying to sort of experiment with things like targeting. And it was, at that point, their best result in by-election history for Ukip.
They also had a further boost at the European elections of May 2014, where Ukip topped the poll, the first party, apart from Labour and the Conservatives, to do so for decades. And there had been a number of high-profile defections in the last few months. Douglas Carswell, MP for Clacton, and of course Mark Reckless, who is the man of the moment in his seat that's been contested this evening. What do you think the odds are? How do you think Mark Reckless is going to do? Put you on the spot.
Well, look at the 4 opinion polls to date. Ukip are averaging around 43% of the vote. They're around 10 to 12 points clear of the Conservatives. My hunch, actually, is this is going to be a lot closer. And the reason I say that is the demography. This is the 271st most most UKIP-friendly seat in the country. This is no Clacton. This is no Thanet South. This is actually quite a difficult seat, middle of the road. It's got more middle-class voters, younger voters, a few more ethnic minority voters than UKIP would ideally like. You know, this was a big gamble for Farage to go into this constituency with Mark Reckless and try and defeat the Conservatives, who, of course, have thrown absolutely everything at ending this revolt once and for all.